Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? We're day 4 in our studio here, and today you're gonna learn something. So get a pad, get a pen, get ready to take some notes. I'm gonna give you my 5 tips that will benefit both new car salespeople, veteran car salespeople, really any salesperson, and even clients going into a dealership. You know, can keep some of these things in mind when they go there. So again, get your pad, get your pen, it's time to go to school. All right, you all set up? Ready? You guys in the back, can you hear me in the back? You're good? Thumbs up? All right, let's do it. 5 tips. I'm gonna do these from 1 to 5, and then we're gonna give you a bonus, which is number 6. First tip, learn the product. That is the most important thing about this job. Learn the product. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be able to answer questions for customers. You know, there's still questions that a customer will ask that I have to look up, you know, because you can't memorize dimensions of every car and wheelbases and stuff like that. So know the product, be able to educate your customer and teach your customer about the product, and know where to find the answers if you don't know the answer to the question they're asking. It's very important that you don't just give somebody an answer because you want to sound like you know what you're talking about if it's an incorrect answer, or if you're not 100% sure that is the answer. Because a lot of times people will ask you a question that they already know the answer to. And if you come up with the wrong answer or a different answer, it's gonna show who you really are, and your credibility is gonna go out the window. So learn the product. Best way to do this, listen, this is what I learned in 2004. My manager at the time was a guy named Ken. He gave me the keys to a Suburban. He said, listen, we sell a lot of these Suburbans. Read the brochure, sit in the car, sit in every single seat, fold every seat down, press every button in the car, go drive the car, learn about the car, feel the power of the car, how the car handles. I'm saying car, it's a truck, it's a Suburban, but you get the idea. Go to lunch. When you come back, which is gonna be about 2 hours from now, I'll sit with you and you'll tell me what you learned about the truck. And I did that for every model. That is the best way. You know, you're gonna have to teach yourself the product. Now it's a little different than it was back in 04 because there's a tremendous amount of stuff on the computer where you can learn from. So tip number 1, learn the product. Tip number 2, the meet and greet, or your welcome when a customer comes into the dealership. This is extremely important. This is your first impression. So make sure you look good. Make sure you're standing up straight. Make sure when you walk towards them, you're walking with a purpose. The purpose is you are there to help them out. Now, every single sales guru that I ever found online will do everything in their power to ask the customer the first question that's going to get the customer to say anything but "I'm just looking." Apparently, they're afraid of the phrase "I'm just looking." Okay? You're going to get that anyway. It doesn't matter. So you might as well just embrace it. I embrace it because I look at it as, well, if a customer's just looking, that's great. They're there for a car. They're not there for service, for parts, for the bathroom, for directions, okay? So you're already a step ahead because they're looking. So what I want you to do is I want you to walk up to your customer and say, "Hi, how you doing? My name is David. How can I help you today?" The customer is going to respond, "I'm just looking," because that's a nervous reaction that customers do. We all do it. I do it myself. And what your answer is going to be is, "Well, that's great. What are you looking for? A new car or a used car? I can point you in the right direction." And I do the pointing. Because back when I first started in auto sales, we did some Grant Cardone training. And Grant Cardone training had finger and hand motions for everything. And I became confident in that learning, and I knew it would help me. In addition to helping me, I knew it would help my customer as well. Anyway, you get the idea. So here's my thought process, right? Customer comes in, they're anxious, they're nervous. They're gonna say they're just looking because that basically takes a salesperson and pushes them to the side, right? Well, that's where I wanna be. I'll be on the side, that's fine. But what I wanna do is I wanna point you in the right direction. So when I ask a customer, "Are you looking for a new car or used car?" They're going to answer, "Oh, I'm looking for a used car, I'm looking for a new Suburban, a new Tahoe," whatever the case may be. And then you can point them in the right direction. In the customer's mind, they're thinking, "You know what? He's gonna let me just go look. He's gonna let me look. He's not pressuring me. He's gonna let me look. He's pointing me that way." That's important. Now, what happens is when a customer answers a question, they say, "I'm looking at a new car." You can say, "Okay, great. Our new cars are out here," and you're gonna lead them away. And as you start walking towards that car or towards that direction, which is gonna point them and bring them that way, you're gonna say, "Well, what kind of car? An Equinox. I have an Equinox right here on the showroom floor." You're in. You're done. You're in. You're in. You're in. There's nothing else to say. Now you just start talking product, and you know the product because you studied it very well. Don't fall for all these different word tracks and all these different things. You know, "Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Customer. What can I provide you information on?" My job is to make sure that you get all the information you need to make an educated decision for you and your family. Don't get into all that, all right? Tip number 3, talk to people like you're talking to your family and friends on a Saturday night. You know, when I worked for Trust Company Bank, before I got into automotive, there were 3 salespeople in their cash management department. I was one of them. woman, Carol, who was in the business for like 20 years, she basically said, you know, talk to people like you're talking to your family and friends on a Saturday night. That's where I learned that piece of information. I never forgot it. Because the whole thing with sales is you're not just selling a product, you're selling yourself. People buy from people they like, they trust, and they're friends. You know, so rather than getting into different discussions and word tracks and all these different things, just talk to them like they're a human being, like they're your best friend or your niece or your aunt or uncle. You know, you wouldn't have a friend of yours come in and say, Jim, let me ask you a question. If I can get this royal blue 2019 Equinox in a payment that would be suitable for you and your family, is this something you'd like to take delivery of today? Like, you would never ask that question like that. You would just ask them, listen, do you like the Equinox? Great, let's go. So there's a way to be like friendly and professional. I would cut slang out. I wouldn't curse in front of customers. Like, that's not the right thing to do. You know, you want to make sure you have some level of professionalism. And that's going to bring us right into tip number 4, which is all about sarcasm and comedy. You want to leave that stuff at the door. When someone comes into the dealership, you don't know their sense of humor, you know, and they don't know yours. So the last thing you want to do is start firing jokes out there and sarcasm to try to make them laugh when you really don't know what they're going to laugh at yet. So leave that at the door. Don't bring that into the dealership. Once you get to know your customer and they trust you and you have friendship and they start joking around, well, at that point you can joke around. But too many times did I see a salesperson try to throw out some sort of comedy to try to break the ice, and all it does is make it awkward. It makes it awkward. Next thing you know, you have some sort of silent pause, you know, you're looking at each other, and it just brings that relationship level down a little bit. So I try to avoid that at all costs. You know, again, once you know your customer and you've developed that relationship, then yeah, you know, you can joke around as much as you want because you know what you can get away with, you know what they're gonna laugh at and what they're not gonna laugh at. But in the beginning, don't do it. Tip number 5, I learned from a manager that I worked with for a long time. The guy's name was Ray. Great guy, learned a lot. This is a particular story, a lesson I learned that I never forgot. Do not think for your customers. What you have to understand as an auto salesman is you don't know what a customer is thinking, right? So there's times you're gonna present a $500 payment on a vehicle and that customer thought the payments were gonna be $600. There's other times you're gonna present a $500 car payment to a customer and that customer thought the payments were gonna be $400 and you still got work to do. So here's a story that happened to me. This was like 10 years ago, maybe even longer. Basically, a customer had come in, they had a pretty cool car, decent payment, only 2 years or so left on the loan, you know, and they were looking to trade out of that car and into a used car. The used car they're looking at was older, it wasn't as cool, and the payments were gonna be higher because of a little bit of negative equity in the car and the fact that the rate was higher because it was an older vehicle, and it turned out to be a higher payment. And in my mind, I'm trying to tell the customer, why are you doing this? You're getting out of a car that you should stay in to go into another car. It's not the right decision. So in the sales office, I'm talking to my manager about that, and he said, listen, this is car sales. Don't think for the customer, they're doing it for a reason. If you don't sell them a car, the person down the street's gonna sell them a car. And what I learned from that, because what happened in the long run was, there was a reason. That customer that had that car, that had to trade out of it, had a co-signer on that vehicle. The co-signer was trying to buy a house and they needed to get that loan off their credit report. They had to get out of that car to help their friend out. So to them, it didn't matter what they were going into. This was something they had to do. Now, if I thought for the customer and I went to them and I said, listen, why are you doing this? And I questioned it. What I end up doing is I force that customer to basically leave the dealership. They're gonna think, oh man, I'm making the wrong decision. This guy thinks I'm dumb for doing it. I have to leave. I have to agree with him. They're gonna agree with you. They're gonna say, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't do this. They're gonna leave. They're gonna go down the street. They're gonna buy a car from someone else because they're gonna do it to save face. So they look like they're making a smart decision. So never think for your customers. So that's basically it. That's all 5. I got one more, but first let's recap. Number 1, we're gonna learn the product. Number 2, we're gonna meet and greet the correct way. We're not gonna worry if customers say they're just looking because we're gonna follow that up with, well, great, are you looking for a new car or used car? I can point you in the right direction. They're gonna tell you a used car, you're gonna say, great, the used cars are that way. Was it something specific? And as you walk and lead them to where they wanna go, you're in conversation at that point and you're off and running. 3, you're gonna talk to people like you're talking to friends and family, okay? Forget all the word tracks and all the old school car sales type stuff. Be a human being, treat your client like a human being, do what's right for them, and you'll sell cars. 4, comedy, sarcasm. Leave it at the door. Don't bring it in the dealership. Wait till you have an established relationship with your customer before you start trying to joke around because it could just make things awkward. Most of the times it does. Number 5, don't think for your clients. You never know what they're thinking. Just present what you can present. Let them make the decision. And number 6, the bonus tip, the most important one of all. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Watch the Dealership Life vlog series that I have out there. It's in a playlist. And help me out. You'll learn stuff along the way. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Thumbs up are always appreciated. I'll see you tomorrow, day 5.